Hello, and welcome to the Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and I am so excited to be on the air with you all today. Thank you so much to those who continue tuning in. I am so grateful for your support. Just a friendly reminder to make sure that you are staying safe around others, whether that is wearing your mask, being very socially distant, or just in general protecting yourself. Even as you go out in crowds, we're in summertime, make sure you're safe and just really being healthy overall. Before I go any further, I also encourage that you download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to the show on the go on your electronic devices. I also ask that you tag a friend, specifically today, tag a male that you know and have them listen into today's upcoming discussion, because this discussion is going to have some great tidbits, some great information, and I believe it is very important to talk about. As you know, June was Men's Mental Health Month, and even though technically today is the first day of July, I did not want to go forward without talking about this topic, because as you know, mental health is something that our country, our society, and specifically in our communities is something that we're dealing with on a whole. It has declined significantly with COVID, and it's just something that in certain communities, especially African American communities, we have not really addressed it much. We haven't talked about it much. And I know my generation is more in touch with sharing it and using that quote, "It's okay to not be okay," being able to share their feelings and really talk about the things that are going on with them. But we tend to see a lot of times that females are more likely to open up and to share those emotions. And so I wanted to have two guests on with me today who are very educated about the topic to really share more about the importance of men's mental health, why we should care about it, and just some tips on how to deal with your mental health from the male perspective. But before I bring them in, I do want to introduce them. So my first guest is none other than Mr. Kevin Warren. He is a serial entrepreneur and human service leader who credits his success to 15 years of experience as a husband and father of 4. He is the CEO and founder of 2 national nonprofits, the Life Center, Inc., and We Are All We Need Incorporated, as well as the CEO and founder of the Life Group, an award-winning community solutions firm specializing in social emotional learning and development rooted in trauma-informed care. He is also an author and grant writer, having secured over $1 million in his first 3 years in human services through developing the project Safe Neighborhood, award-winning village system of care. This targeted prevention, intervention, and diversion program seeks to increase mental health screens in targeted zip codes while providing wraparound services to youth and families at an increased risk of the perils of ACEs, adverse childhood experience derived from adverse community environments. And y'all, I said a lot of information, but it is so good to have none other than the man, Mr. Warren, here. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the show, Mr. Warren.
I appreciate it, Kaylin. I so appreciate you and your enthusiasm. Hearing all of that, it just sounds like a mouthful, but ultimately, we serve our community and help people, love people.
Yes, and I love that you all serve and help. We need more people in our world who are doing so. Thank you again for being on. I do have another guest, none other than Dr. Willie L. Williams. He is an assistant professor in the School of Allied Health Sciences, Division of Health Science at Florida A&M University. He earned a doctorate in public health degree in behavioral sciences and health education from the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences Institute of Public Health, and a master's of social work degree from FAMU. He has dedicated more than 18 years of working with youth and families in various capacities. Dr. Williams' research interests include, but are not limited to, the impact of social determinants of health on at-risk youth, health disparities among African American boys and men, mental health engagement and stigmas among African Americans, boys and men, and so much more. Within the community, he is known for his extraordinary ability to relate to at-risk youth and really enhance programs that serve young people. He has served on several youth and enhancement programs serving young people, and he's just doing so much in the community to make it a better place. I am so honored to have him on with me today. Welcome to the show, Mr. Williams.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on. You all, as I stated, I'm going to re-mention, today's topic is Let's Talk Men's Mental Health. We're talking about all things that have to do with men's mental health and why it's so important to really be in tune with what's going on with you, what's going on with your body. Because a lot of times we all know that everything we go through, everything that happens, it starts in our mind. And if your mind is gone, then so can a lot of things in your life. And we know that a lot of men deal with so many things that they keep inside. They don't share, they don't open up. So I want to hear from you all. Why is it important to talk about men's mental health? We can start with Mr. Warren.
Yeah, I think, Kaylin, first of all, thank you for highlighting this topic. I know June, it gets hectic, and so I'm happy here to start this month of July. You're really kind of recapping. There's a lot, but to answer your question, the reason why it's important is because we have to create these safe spaces, and we have to begin to break stigmas and normalize talking about just the different weights of not only just being a man, but being a human being. And so talking about mental health, talking about well-being in general for men is critical, because not just for our well-being, but I do believe that every generation demands a demonstration, and the next generation needs to see exactly how men can talk about their mental health and understand, to what you said, that it's not okay. It's okay to not be okay. And so if we can show them that, if we can talk about that, we can kind of give them that demonstration. And so it's critical. It's critical to continue this conversation.
I like the word demonstration that you use. Well said response. It is necessary that people do see the importance and see just kind of the trend of how it changes. We've seen that even within from generation to generation, how one generation used to not talk anything about their mental health. And now you have my generation who's more posting it on social media and being more vocal about it. So it is good to have that demonstration. What about you, Mr. Williams? Why is it important to talk about men's mental health?
Well, first and foremost, I echo everything that Mr. Warren said. Thank you for having us on. This is definitely a topic that's near and dear to us as we've continued to try to help build upon the building blocks that have been set in place. And it's so important because, like he said, we want to start addressing the social stigmas that are out there, the stereotypes, those things that are kind of putting forth a negative belief within our community by different people and by men themselves, and that stops them from starting the work of healing. And that's really what we want to get back to, is finding a way to heal. And, you know, we're so proud of your generation that they have started to speak up about those things that have been ailing them and those things that have been concerned within them as far as emotions, and really trying to connect with it. And so if we can put some building blocks in place, maybe we can help lead them to the direction and to the healthy form of themselves that they want to see. So we're definitely excited about that discussion starting to take place amongst men of all people.
It's good that we have the discussion anyway. I mean, as everyone knows, this is a discussion between a young lady trying to understand more from the male perspective. And even though we do need to, you all have those conversations with you all man to man, but it's good for females to understand it as well, especially just even as life goes on, to know how to help our friends or eventually in relationships to really be that person for someone. And I like that you continue to say to share that conversation, share that discussion, because there's a lot of things we don't talk about simply because it hurts or it's a rough subject. It's something we don't want to necessarily bring out into the public, talk about our issues. But it's very important that you share what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of people who've resorted to unfortunate things such as suicide or substance abuse because they have not been afraid, or they've been afraid to talk about their mental health. They feel like they may be misunderstood and may not have people to really be there for them. And I'm wondering from the both of you as well, why do you think men avoid seeking help when their mental health declines? We can start with Dr. Williams this time.
Man, I think when you look at, especially when we're talking about older men, and then most younger men as well, when you look at their upbringing, how they were brought up, and you start looking at how society has defined what masculinity is, we try to live up to this definition. And oftentimes men feel that there may be a sense of shame or embarrassment, right? When we start talking about inner feelings, emotions, and things that make us feel soft and sensitive, those kind of be like trigger words. And so that a lot of times those are the reasons why we try to avoid the topic, on top of other things that may be stressors in our lives that we tend to put more focus on at the time being, because who has time to be soft, right? Who has time to let your feelings out? Right now we have to get this work done. We have to take care of the family. We have to show our friends that we can handle everything. And like I said, it all goes back to the upbringing. Men don't cry. Men do what needs to be done. Men step forward and make sure at the end of the day, we put the best effort forward.
I agree. I mean, that whole statement of boys don't cry, men don't cry, that is so not true. I mean, in reality, everybody has moments, just as humans, where things don't go our way, where we're not always able to control every situation. And it's so important that we know. I mean, my mom has told me my whole life, but I've even begun telling my friends, like, it's okay to have a moment. It's okay to have a time where you're just not okay. You may feel sad. You may wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're just not feeling it. But it's okay to have that moment and admit it and say, yes, I've hit a point where I'm just not feeling okay. Will I get better? Yes. But it's okay to say and sit there and know that right now you're not feeling happy. You're not feeling great. And I have heard and I've seen, just even with other my guy friends or just males that I've talked with, that a lot of times they tend to share. They don't feel they can share their mental health because a lot of people are depending on them, or a lot of people just expect them to be happy-go-lucky all the time. And so I do believe and agree with you as well that it is important that they talk about it. Is there anything you can add, Mr. Warren, to that as well?
I was kind of playing double dutch, right? So it's kind of, waiting to jump in. But no, there's a couple things. I want to kind of take it back and break it down in chunks. So you said something about being a young woman, right? And going out and trying to understand more about mental health and men's mental health and gain that perspective, which is critical, right? It's critical. I don't want to just glaze over that, because that is a huge part of why men don't get into the conversation or don't expose that vulnerability, is because of what we believe, to Doc's point, masculinity looks like. And we gauge, and we kind of, as men, we base that masculinity measurement or that marker on women at times, right? And so, we think it's the macho, it's the tough man, that can protect and provide for his woman or whatnot. And so it's so important that women begin to get into this space and understand men's mental health, because you can help, and women can help set the bar in different places, right? So instead of setting the bar in financial security and stability, set a bar early in your relationship with talking to me well and communicating with me, right? And telling me about your past, just creating a safe space for vulnerability. So therefore we can begin to get permission to redefine what masculinity looks like for us, right? So it's okay. I can still provide for you, and then I can cry in your arms. And you don't think that somehow means that if somebody run in his house, I'm not going to protect us. Or, if that somehow means that, I'm not going to work my fingers to the bone to make sure that, you have a roof over your head and food in your mouth. And so kudos to you, and kudos to your audience for taking that time in the space. My wife is one I always give credit. Any man, right, who has healed his trauma did not heal his trauma without that partner being able to endure with him. And so I'm thankful and grateful for a wife who allowed me to cry many times in her arms. And even if it's new to her, redefining and allowing us to redefine that space of what masculinity looks like. And so my next point is that piece of, Doc, you're right. 50 Cent said depression is a luxury in the Black community for a Black man, right? Depression is a luxury. I don't have time to sit down and feel my emotions, even if I am tired, even if I am not okay. I'll know I'm not okay, but I still have to get through this day because of X, Y, and Z. And so it's important that in this modern age, when we're able to be more vulnerable and we're able to pull on our relationships and our communication to get to better, where we need, it's really important for that man to be able to have that partner, to be able to share the burden, right? To say, okay, we've had the communication. When I'm down, you're down. It's not depression if I need a break, right? It's not depression if I'm tired, right? And I am physically, mentally exhausted. That's not depression. And so a lot of the times we have this socio kind of watered down feeling of depression, meaning I just don't feel good. But that's not it. So it's important for men to get into it. It's important for women to get into it. And as partners, be able to have those conversations in the privacy and intimacy of your relationship, whether that's friendship or love type relationship. But have that person, have that relationship that you can practice being vulnerable and practice sharing in that conversation, because practice makes permanent, and that's really what we need. So
yeah. You dropped a lot of wisdom. I hope those listening really heard that. I mean, of course, I'm younger. I'm 17 years old, almost 18. I have not been through everything that they've talked about, right? Or heard about everything that they've talked to, but just even hearing more from some of my guy friends, some of the males I've interacted with, even though our generation is more vocal about sharing why they don't feel like talking about their mental health, a lot of times I've heard that they just simply don't think anyone cares enough. I mean, they have a lot of friends. Everybody wants to talk about what's going on social media, what's going on with drama, but there's a lot of guys my age who just don't feel like they have enough people who are ready to listen. Or there's this generational divide, where our generation is more comfortable, their parents' generation is not as comfortable. And so trying to open up to parents or trying to open up to family members is just not as easy. And the other part is not everybody can afford counseling. I mean, that unfortunately in our world, that's just not something that can happen. And a lot of times people keep that. A lot of men or young men, old men, keep that bottled up inside, and it ends up affecting them later. And are there any tips you all could give to them, how they can deal with their mental health, how a society can destigmatize mental health? What is something they can do to really help men get control over the things that are going on in their mind?
So
Dr. Willie I wanted 2 seconds take a shout out to Dr. Willie and the Tallahassee Trainers Foundation, because Dr. Willie and the Tallahassee Trainers Foundation, along with the other partners, myself included in our organization, were able to have this conversation. And Doc, I want you to be able to share that we have that exact answer from the mouth of the youth, right? Of exactly why, how do we bridge that gap? And I know, Doc, I know you're going to jump in and tell us exactly kind of what we got from it. So there is an answer. The youth have told us this clear as day. And we can share it,
Right. And that answer is so multifaceted, right? It comes from so many different angles. And when we look at the role that young women and women play in it, like you were saying earlier, Kaylin, you all can assist by helping to redefine what that means, what masculinity means. Because when you look at music videos today, and especially those music videos that are put on by women, in the depiction of what a man is supposed to be in those videos, your thug man, this kind of man, we need you all to help us in walking that definition back and putting forth a new definition that it's okay to be in touch with your inner emotions, to be in touch with yourself, and that you all support and rather would choose those kind of men over what is being depicted in social media and on videos. And that's Mr. Warren was saying earlier. The other thing is we have to start having an open dialogue about mental health, right? We have to start promoting education about mental health, because most men don't know that, hey, my body's hurting, my mind is hurting, everything is hurting. Oh, this is a form of stress and anxiety. I didn't even know. I'm so used to it. We've normalized so many pains that we actually think that that's how it's supposed to feel. So we have to start having education on that to let people know what is normal and what is not normal. And it's through creating safe places, right? Safe places like the meeting we had this past Saturday, where we brought almost 60 men together from 6 years old up, from different parts of Tallahassee and Leon County, to talk about what are some of the issues you're having? What are some things you want to talk about? We don't even have an agenda. Let's just have, like you said, open dialogue about what's ailing you. And let's see who out here can kind of relate to you and put forth how they're getting through it. And so we have to create these safe spaces amongst men, the dialogue amongst men, but we have to have the support and the encouragement from women to say, it's okay, we got your back. Whenever you get done, we'll build it up out here social media wise. What you got for us, Mr. Warren?
Yeah, Kaylin, you said that not enough men care, or not enough people care, right? And that was a driving point to our youth. We had youth ranging from 10 to 67, 68 years old in this room, young men. And there was a couple things that I took from it that can specifically speak to that population, that generation, that says there's just nobody that really cares, right? So I'm not going to talk about it. Not enough people really care about it. They just want to know my business, blast it, use it to manipulate and leverage me, or whatever. It's two things with that. It's how to care, right? Our young men said the older generation comes with the pre-planned agenda in which we think we know where they are, what they're doing, and where they need to go. So we come in with the plan, like, oh, young fella, this is what we need to do, and you should do this, X, Y, and Z, versus coming in and listening and saying, what is it that you need from me, right? Being more like the library instead of the teacher, right? Being the resource room for knowledge and information in which someone can come in and get what they need, versus trying to tell somebody what the curriculum is and teaching them something. And so it's important that our youth are able to know that we genuinely care, right? Our young people know that we genuinely care, but they know that because the second piece is the young man said specifically, I don't know my neighbors' names, right? I don't know who's in my community. We don't have communities anymore. We have households. I mean, I tried to say we have neighborhoods, but I think that was such a key part of the young black man's heart, and his just call and cry out for help was, I don't have community. Y'all are all worried about your own household and how that you get your money. You don't know me. You don't know the kid across the street. And so to get to your point, he's absolutely right. It's not that there's not enough people that actually care. There's not enough expression of love and care. We don't express that enough. We don't allow that vulnerability and that openness and that love to just radiate to that neighborliness, right, that we used to have, the community and the village. So that's even why we created that village approach. It's because we need kids to know, no matter if it's you coming to me, Dr. Willie, we may have our businesses, but at the end of the day, we're human, and we are humans that might look more like you. So you can always come to me, and if I don't make you comfortable, if it's not something that connects, go to my brother Willie. And that's what we're able to do, is create community, create village, so they'll know who can express and how to express that love and concern. So they'll just know that that's what, we are. We're here. We really are here.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. That's really, really good. And I mean, I know we're talking about men's mental health, but if I'm being honest, I think that would solve a lot of our problems if we really got into the chance of rebuilding our communities. I mean, I know that I'm a part of my generation, different things like that, but I grew up with the whole face-to-face because I had people around me who were like, yeah, you're going to talk to people. You're going to stand up. You're going to make yourself known that you're in the room. And I see so many of my peers where so many times we're secluded. We don't want to share. We don't want to open up. And like you said, there's a lot of people who feel misunderstood, but there's also a lot of people who don't communicate. And I encourage those who are listening, even with the great information they share, simply coming from my perspective as a female and just as a teenager, If you need help, communicate that. No one's going to know. No one's going to be able to help you, going to be able to give you advice if you don't ask for it. They always say closed mouths don't get fed, right? If you don't take the time to recognize within yourself, one, something's not right. Two, how can I make it better? If you don't take that extra step and put action into it, nothing will change. We have a lot of people who are going through things mentally, especially our African American men, because a lot of them have, one, been afraid to ask for help, but two, even with help provided to them, have not taken that step in action to receive it. There are too many resources on Google, people, communities, connections with just people you meet at events to help you. We are at a point now where you have to take the reins for your stuff. I know a lot of times, even those listening who are in teenage stage like me, you may be in high school listening, you may be in middle school. You, just like I mentioned before with academics, there are going to be some things that you have to do outside of school to work on behalf of yourself so that you hit that next level. The same thing happens with your mental health. Sometimes your parents may not understand you, like I said, because of a generational divide. Sometimes your friends may not even understand you, but you got to take that step and get help. You got to find resources. You got to look for things. It's a difference to say you looked and couldn't find it instead of complaining about it and not getting that help. We are really in a time where your mind is so important. Our world is really crazy right now, and we need men, females especially, we need men to depend on, but we also need them to know and understand that it's okay for them to have their moments. So just to kind of put everything full circle, my whole purpose of having this conversation today was, one, to show an example that it is possible for us to talk about these issues and still be okay, still smile through it and keep going. But number two, to also let you know that it is important, man. It's very crucial that you talk about your mental health. It's very important that you ask for help, that you recognize, as Mr. Warren stated earlier, that it's not always a heavy case like depression and anxiety. Sometimes you're just having bad days. You're having bad moments, and it's okay. But it's recognizing, it's being okay with it, and truly knowing that you are in control of your mental health. Thank you both so much. I know this time goes by just like this, and I definitely look forward to continuing this conversation. I'm going to look inside my brain because I got ideas popping, but I definitely feel that so many other young men need to hear more information that you all have. And so I'm going to definitely be in contact with you all and looking around Tallahassee, because I do believe we need to talk about that more. But before we get off, can you all share the ways that people can get in contact with you, especially if they're listening and they want to get more resources? Mr. William or Dr. Williams, we can start with you.
Yeah, again, Kaylin, excellent show. And like you said, just to tailor off, we are transitioning from that me against the world mentality to we as a village mentality, because it will take all of us. And sometimes we got to do it like the pastors do it in the church, right? If you're too scared to come up to the front, then I'll come to the pew and get you. So all you got to do is kind of just wave your hand and we'll come out there and get you and lead you the way you need to go. But if you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me at Willie, that's Willie with the IE, the number 1.Williams at famu.edu. Or you can reach out to me through my website, www.winningwithwillie.com.
Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Mr. Warren?
Oh, man, this was Kaylin. I'm so proud of you and what it is that you represent for this generation. I tell it all the time. They're in good hands. We're in good hands with the generation that you guys are leading in charge of. So kudos to you. I do want to highlight one piece that is extremely important to me, and that is the suicide rates of young Black males, right, 17 and under. It was a rate that astonished me. Black males, juvenile Black males, 17 and under, are twice more likely to commit suicide than their Caucasian counterparts. And it's scary when you really think about that. And so it is vital. I mean, we are at a critical moment of saving lives to be able to share with our young Black men that it is okay to ask for help, right? It is okay not to be okay. but it is not okay to hide and make permanent decisions for temporary problems. So I really want to challenge all the parents out there to ask your sons what's going on. Just because they're laughing, they're running, they're playing sports, doesn't mean that everything is okay. Really ask. Don't expect them to come and ask and tell us all the time. So I challenge our parents to just do a little check-in and the ride home with your kids. So especially your sons, if you have little black boys, please, mental health is a huge issue. But if you want to check me out, if you want to ask questions on how do you have some of these conversations with your kids, YoKevHelp, that's my Instagram and my TikTok, and email. So YoKevHelp@gmail.com. Please send your questions, your comments, any perspectives that you want to particularly talk about. Please send that to me. We respond back. If you want to get, we're really about increasing mental health screens in promised zone zip codes and disadvantaged communities. So if you need to connect, or if you want to connect to the village, www.virtuallifecenter.com or weareallweneed.com, and click the button right there for become a village member, and we'll go ahead and my staff will reach back out to you. So I appreciate you, Kaylin, and your audience for such a great time. And Doc, I always enjoy sharing the stage with you, brother.
Thank you both so much. I believe this was truly an awesome show, and I'm just so glad to have had you both on. Thank you all for always tuning in every week. As you know, you can connect with me by going to www.kaylinscaringconnection.com to see more about why I do what I do. But just to say again, I appreciate you all's support so much, and I really hope you enjoy these empowering conversations. Always know that I love you and I care about you, and if no one else has told you today, know that I love you. Thank you again for listening, and catch me on the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, it's Kaylin with Kaylin's Caring Connection. Guess what? I'm hosting the second annual #We Got Your Back Service Day, where again, we will be giving out backpacks filled with necessities to Tallahassee's homeless. Last year, we were able to impact 100 homeless lives, and this year we intend to impact so many more lives through this initiative. I need your help again to make this event successful. You can connect and give via Amazon. We're also accepting monetary donations. To find more information about this event, go to www.kaylinscaringconnection.com. Thank you for connecting.